well. Thank you.
Man, are the Cowboys sniffing around doing anything else here as we go into this weekend?
I haven't heard much yet. I think the big move with Osa was pretty interesting. You know, it's one of those deals where it's really hard. It's frankly impossible to pay two DTs or three DTs 20 plus. You just can't do it. And Osa's a terrific player, 27 years old. That deal came together pretty quickly in the span of 2 or 3 days. The Niners identified him as the guy they really wanted, and the reason that they were sort of waiting and slow playing free agency, the Niners, was because they wanted that deal done. And obviously Dallas got back a really healthy pick in return, and perhaps it can be a win-win. But overall, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I think I feel pretty good about things, all things considered.
Where do you think they help themselves the most? Is it with Rashawn Gary? Is it Jalen Thompson? The corner last night, Kobe Durant? What do you like about this class?
The Durant move was solid. I thought early on that, he might even get a multi-year. I like that move. I thought the Jalen Thompson move was terrific. You know, he's a guy that is about as consistent as it gets from a safety perspective. He's just a really good football player, and that's, the reason the Cowboys, among others, one of the reasons they've struggled is because, giving up big plays in the back end, and the addition of someone like Thompson, who's played a lot of football, is super smart, high character football guy, that's going to make a big difference. It's not like, the biggest splashy move, but sometimes that's okay. And if you're the Cowboys, you're thinking about what did we need to do when it came to this free agency? It was secondary. That was a huge factor for them. So they get Thompson, they get Durant, obviously bring back Sam. I thought the P.J. Locke move was another one. Coming from Denver, played some great football. I mean, that's a pretty cool story. He almost had to retire with a very, very rare back surgery 2 years ago. Comes back and played great for Denver last year. So none of these moves super splashy, but I think all of them pretty productive.
Javonte Williams was a guy, obviously, you had on your show during the season. He got re-signed pretty early on. But when you look at kind of the way the running back market's gone, how much of a value is that re-signing now for the Cowboys?
That was a really, first of all, when that deal came out and we heard 24/3 with some guarantees, I think the first thought process was, why would he take that deal? But the more you asked around, the more it made sense that the running back market, despite a lot of the big names, was not going to have the same type of maybe numbers that we had anticipated coming out of the Combine. And that deal happened, I think it was right before the Combine. So I like that deal a lot for Javonte, and I also felt like Dallas had to do it. Dallas had him last year, and he had a massive rejuvenation for them. He came from Denver where he had a major knee surgery about 2 years ago, and he played great football for them. And a lot of it, too, was he wanted to stay. He felt like he had found a home. The Cowboys felt like he was a guy they needed to retain. And it's one of those things, too, where, like, Javonte, from a synergy standpoint with Dak in the back, you saw the running backs come off the board. Some guys got some nice numbers, but by and large, coming out of the Combine, we had heard bigger numbers and didn't quite materialize. So I like the move for both sides.
Jordan, one name that we've been throwing around that we'd love the Cowboys to get involved in, and I don't know how much info you've got, but what's the buzz around Minnesota Vikings edge rusher Jonathan Grenard right now?
Yeah, so Grenard is tricky because he's a very good player, Pro Bowl caliber player. I think he's 27, 28, I want to say. They're trying to trade him. They've got multiple suitors. But the issue with him is he's going to want a new deal. And anytime you have a guy that you're trading for, you have to give up draft capital. That's one part. But it becomes a lot more complicated when that player is going to want a new contract. And he's got a lot of stuff to him. He's a very good player, and I think has a lot of really good football left. To me, that's the type of player that Dallas should go after. You mentioned the Rashawn Gary trade. I still think they need more juice coming off the edge. He can rush. He's a really good tackler. I would be surprised if he wasn't moved, but I also know that you're going to have to pay him a big salary on a multi-year deal, and that's probably why it hasn't happened just yet.
NFL insider Jordan Schultz with us. Is there any chance in Pittsburgh that they would want to deal Nick Herbig, who's a popular name for Cowboys fans to dream about trading for, or Alex Highsmith?
Yeah, who do Cowboys fans want more? I'm curious. Probably Herbig because of the age, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, salary's even lower.
Yeah, he's 24. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at what he's making. Yeah, I haven't heard that. The one name I had heard coming out of Dallas was Cameron Hayward, and then they ended up working out a deal with him. I haven't heard anything about Highsmith or Herbig. I mean, if they wanted to move either one of those guys, there would be a massive market. I would be surprised at this point if they did move him. I know Dallas likes him, but everyone likes Nick Herbig. So, but no, I haven't heard that just yet.
Can the Cowboys go into the draft with this situation, inside linebacker being what it is right now, or do they need to add some depth?
So this draft is one of those deals where it's not. First of all, there's probably 12 to 14, 15 true first-rounders, which makes it complicated because if you want to move up, you have to get really inside the top, I'd say 8 to 10, 12. And if you don't want to move up, you have to wait and then try to stockpile second and thirds because there's a big drop-off after that third round going into the fourth round. Linebacker has been and continues to be a big issue for the Cowboys, and it's kind of the one position I thought they might address in free agency. Obviously, it hasn't happened just yet. I'd have to look at my sheet in terms of what bargain type of backers are available. Other than Overshown, who's tremendous. I think Shamar James could be interesting for them. Obviously, I love Ezeraku, but. No, I mean, they need another backer. I would be surprised if they found it in anything but the draft. I'm just looking at who's available. No, this is probably something that they need to address in the draft, yes.
What do you think the chances are that Sonny Styles does make it to 12? Is that a long shot?
I would say that would be stunning. Stunning. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I have to look at the draft in front of me, but the performance he put on at the Combine is, frankly, one of the more impressive things I've ever seen. And I'm just getting word that the Panthers are signing Rasheed Walker, who, by the way, was one of these big ticket items in this free agency class. Why do you ask so much about backer, though? I'm just curious.
Well, the Cowboys are in desperate need right now. They don't have, outside of Overshown, you mentioned Shamar James, and it's Justin Barron who has not started. They were trying to go after, as you know, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker. They struck out. So inside linebacker is just the biggest glaring need right now for the Cowboys.
Yeah. I think so too, guys. I got to take this. Give me 1 minute, okay?
Absolutely.
Jordan Schultz
breaking some news.
Breaking news on his hands. He's got to take his cell phone and pick up mid-interview with us here in the G-Bag Nation. But yeah, I'm not hallucinating on that one, right?
No.
Middle linebacker, inside linebacker, biggest need going right now, Chief.
Yeah, it is. They have other needs, but you have guys and bodies at those positions for the most part. Linebacker is where you're really dry right now, and especially with Overshown being the guy, it's like he's still a guy that you can't totally depend on from a health standpoint. Like, I would argue I would like to get two in here. I was hoping to get like a veteran free agent guy that could come in, plug and play, and then still draft a guy in what is a pretty strong linebacker class.
So Jesse Hawley on DLLS today has a pitch out for Bobby Wagner. And he talks about he's one of the premier run defenders in the history of the league. He loves the veteran leadership that he could possibly bring. I know we've been kicking the tires on who else is out there, and Gavin, you brought up Bobby Wagner. But among all defenders, first in snaps, first in tackles, third in stops, tied for fifth in solo tackles, fifth in tackle rate. I don't think there's any doubt in terms of leadership, the football IQ, the run fits, all that's there. I think the The weakness now is in coverage. I mean, I thought that was when we were getting ready for Washington. Both times last year, it was like, ooh,
he's stiff.
He's susceptible now. Like you can find mismatches of him in coverage, but at this point, when you're looking at who else is available, I mean, we've linked Bobby Wagner to Dallas before because of the Dan Quinn connection. Maybe, I know he's 35 years old, but if you're looking for a bridge just to go into the draft and know, okay, at least I've got somebody, maybe Jesse's onto something with Bobby Wagner.
And with how much you are looking at your defensive line and saying, we are going to stop the run with these guys, making that a priority with Rashawn Gary and, you know, what Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark can do. And Ezeraku is already really good at stopping the run. You know, maybe you're looking at your linebackers like, we don't need you to help that much stopping the run, and we really need a coverage guy. We need a linebacker that is going to be balanced and help us stopping the pass as well. And if that's the case, then I don't think you want Bobby Wagner, and that's why I would say you have Okereke. But Okereke has started missing tackles in the run game at the highest rate.
It's like the opposite.
You got one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it is remarkable that that's possible for the Cowboys to pick which one they want to help the most. And, you know, with $8 to $10 million, you could get either one of those players right now. Is that too much money for them? I would hope not, because you got nothing going on here at middle linebacker.
Exactly. Like beggars can't really be choosers at this point, and you need somebody who can come in and at least bring something to the table. At this point in free agency, you're not finding perfect players, just super well-rounded dudes, but you will get them on the cheap. He was just on a one-year, $8 million deal with the Commanders, so he'd probably take the same thing, maybe even a little bit less.
Yeah.
And that's a guy who can at least, when it comes to run defense, you know you've got a guy there. In coverage, as y'all mentioned, I mean, he allowed the most yards after catch in coverage this past season. Like, you don't want him on the field when it comes to coverage situations, but you can manipulate that.
You got 159 tackles from the guy last year. Like, I don't even know if it's recognized or appreciated how he's kind of an ageless wonder with his ability to do that one thing at such a high level that PFF actually had him as a top 10 linebacker overall last year.
Right.
I don't think he'd be a top 10 guy in consideration if you could start picking and choosing from all the linebackers across the NFL, but at least in a grading sense, that's how amazing that he is. And, you know, now you're in a situation where, are you sure that the 20th pick is going to be good enough, or is there this massive learning curve? That's entirely possible. As much as you might like Rodriguez and his football IQ, or C.J. Allen calling plays on the field for 2 years in a row, there's just a difference in the speed of the game, and it might take a significant portion of the year, multiple years, to make that adjustment. And that's a big enough thing. And then you talk about the communication and the recognition that you need from your green dot guy. That's going to take a real special guy to be able to do that as a rookie.
100% it is. And I do think having a veteran to kind of bridge that and maybe ease in, because I think C.J. Allen and Jacob Rodriguez, the football instincts, the mental IQ, the processing, both those guys to me are two elite linebackers when it comes to that. I think Rodriguez makes more plays. That's why I like him over C.J. Allen personally. I think when you watch him, the difference-making plays, the ability to turn over the football, I get why some project out C.J. Allen maybe to be the better player, and you have the connection on staff with his former Georgia coach. But there's things that Jacob Rodriguez does to me, why I love him so much, that they're not coachable. He's just got an innate feel to get to the football and punch it out, and I think that does translate. I've gotten in some back and forth on Twitter with others that are like, nah, you can't go ahead and bank on those turnovers. I'm like, Peanut Tillman made a career on this. Like, if you're somebody that just has a nose for being able to get to the football and punch it out, that is a skill set. It's not just luck that somebody's able to do that. I think Avion Terrell is one of those guys that has that too from Clemson.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You know, I'd be happy with either Rodriguez or Allen, but from a team-building perspective, I need...
This will pique your interest.
Okay.
Cowboys signed Kobe Durant, a cornerback from the Los Angeles Rams. And Durant is he started 39 of 61 games from 4 years. I want to ask you this question, Aisha. Kobe Durant is 5'11", 181 pounds.
see where you're going.
Is there a change in philosophy from what we've seen from Will McClay in the past, some of the defensive coordinators in the past? Are we seeing Christian Parker say, you know what, I'm okay with the smaller corner? And are there smaller corners on your board that maybe you were thinking about, maybe not for the Cowboys, but now all of a sudden they're back in play?
That's such a good two-part question. I'm so excited. Okay, so, well, first of all, shout out to the small corners and the small humans in the world. But to answer your question, first of all, I think this is one of the best signings of the free agency so far.
I like what they did here.
I like what they did here as well, especially with Dallas. You know, we've been talking about, some of the signings they've had, thinking you still needed a boundary guy or somebody that could do some things on the boundary. When you talk about the nickel spot or talk about a Kobe Turner, I think a lot of bringing him in also, too.
Kobe Durant.
Is temperament.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. And when you heard Christian Parker speak, when we've heard him talk at the Combine, he had the opportunity to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
He cares about skill. He cares about your mind, and he cares about your attitude. Kobe Durant brings that temperament that you want. Dallas did not take the ball away a lot last year.
Not at all.
I think that they want a couple guys out there that are going to be willing to put their bodies on the line. But to go back further into your question, we saw this with Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Where Dallas played a lot of nickel. Dallas played a lot of nickel with their safeties. Also, too, Jordan Lewis, who had been pushed to the side multiple times with other regimes.
Yeah.
Because that nickel was so important, we got to see Jordan Lewis thrive in that system. So I think that there was a philosophy difference for a little bit with Dan Quinn, and we saw some of the smaller corners, and Jordan Lewis get a chance. But then, he had some changes and
Mike Zimmer.
Maybe they are going back to that.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they're going back to that is because it is not to this coaching staff, this defensive coaching staff. I don't think that they're so worried about size. What can that player freaking do?
Okay.
What can they do? And to finish off answering your question, because I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What would Dallas do with this third-round pick that they have newly acquired?
Yeah.
I personally think that the corner position has more value there with guys. So you think about a D'Angelo Pons.
Yeah.
Is he off the table now with them liking that feistier, smaller guy? I think also, too, like an Everett out of Georgia who isn't small, but he's not, super lengthy and stuff. Can he be somebody that they're interested in as well in the third round?
Rivers we talked about, too, from Duke as well. Yeah.
Rivers as well. Those guys, I think now, if you think you're seeing a philosophy change, might fit, and you got that third-round pick, I really want to start looking at, if Dallas doesn't go corner early, can they supplement with what they've done already in that third round? What you think?
Yeah, see, this is where, to me, I'd go after Jonathan Grenard from Minnesota, me and Vaj had this discussion today. We had this morning before you and I are doing our show. I had this discussion. Listen, if you told me I could go and take that pick and go move it and do something, I'm going to get Jonathan Grenard, the edge from the Minnesota Vikings.
You're fighting with Philly because I've heard on the back end that they have been pursuing him as well.
And you should be absolutely in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do with the particular pick. I also, though, and I ask you this question because I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when Will McClay and the defensive coordinator had a discussion about the smaller players, because this is something not in Will McClay's wheelhouse. He's not. He's always been about length. He's always been about size. It's always been about, well, this is a big man's game. In a lot of ways, he's not wrong. But what happens? See, this is what folks out there